Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a drama from Russia, Russian language English subs, released in the year 2016, directed by Kirill Serebrennikov, and this film is called The Student. It's also known as The Disciple, so if you can't find it under one title, please look for it under the other. So the story to The Student, we have a high school in Russia where the main character is reading the Bible and he has become dedicated to his faith. So he's going on a crusade to convert everyone around him, and he's going to ostracize anyone that goes against him. And so as the school board are trying to deal with this main character, there is a teacher who is an atheist. She believes in science, and she's going to butt heads with this main character, and it's going to have catastrophic consequences. So what those consequences are is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Student. This was an absolutely fascinating film, and it's another Russian movie that you can add to the really memorable experiences. And so what I really like about Russian cinema is that it's very daring. Russia is definitely ruled with an iron fist, and not a lot of breathing space as far as creativity is concerned, and not a lot of critique is allowed of the authorities. So you have Andrei Zvyagintsev, Yuri Bykov, who are these directors that dare to challenge the system, and so they use that symbolism through their films, and it just feels as though it's very daring, and it's definitely very thought-provoking, and it's thought-provoking and debate-provoking that you wouldn't get in Russia. And so it's outside of Russia where you can look in and you can see the shortcomings of everything around them. And so it's something that is definitely you're going to cause discussion, and that's something that I really like. And so if you're not familiar with Russian cinema, they make their movies in a very courageous way, in a very different way as well. And so coming into The Student, I saw the synopsis and I thought this looks very interesting, and after watching it, it was very interesting. This is a fascinating film that is made of the highest order. This is a movie that is a critique of the system and set beliefs. If you believe in something and the majority believe in it, then you're right, and those that criticize you are wrong. And this is something that's not limited to just religion, it's also just opinions in general. If you liked a movie, for example, and the majority didn't, then you're wrong. And so it's basically my belief against yours, and whatever's popular is definitely going to win. And so this movie showcases that in a very psychological way. It's a psychological battlefield within this classroom, and the situation just starts to spiral out of control. The acting from the main character I thought was fascinating. He was definitely radicalized, and he had a lot of traumas in his past that aren't gone into, but it makes it very interesting as to how he came about being this person. So he's a very dangerous person, and the more people he starts to influence, the more the situation starts to get out of control. Even the board, even the teachers, because this boy is a believer of God, the board was starting to take his side. And so he was doing things that were very unhinged. You know, he was definitely a very strange individual, and he should have been dealt with straight away. But the board, because he's preaching things that they believed in, this is a symbolization of also the government. And so this is very scary, because the influence of the majority can actually have a devastating effect, and that's exactly what happens to the teacher who's an atheist. So you have atheism and religion that clash heads, and it's just a fascinating battle where I really wanted to see how it was going to finish. So the mood of the film is very intense. It's very dialogue driven, and I thought the dialogue was fascinating. There's a lot of Bible verses that are thrown out there. It would have been easy to have a film that's just preaching the word and showing you religion is the way, but this movie gives you the perspective from both sides. And so it's not taking sides, but it's showing you the destruction of, you know, that conflict of interest. You know, basically my opinion against your opinion, but because I've got more people on my side, I'm right, you're wrong. And so it's not something limited to just Russia, it's society in general, and it's a very scary thought to have where your beliefs aren't right because they don't really align with the beliefs of the majority. And so as far as psychological tension is concerned, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of suspense in this movie, and it's because of the interactions of people. This is not a movie that has a lot of violence. It's not a movie that has explosions. It's a movie that is going to force you to think. And this is something that is very trademark-like of Russian cinema. And so this is another film that I thought was absolutely fascinating, and that's the reason why I'm very excited by what Kirill Serebrennikov can produce in his other films. I really have to go and see this guy's movies because he's right up there with Yuri Bykov and Andrei Zvyagintsev, who are filmmakers that are daring. And so this movie is not as daring as far as critiquing the government is concerned, but it is daring because it's critiquing us as human beings and the comfort we get from certain beliefs. And once we become radicalized, this shows you how dangerous it is. And it's not only one religion that can be radicalized. And so religion can be a very good thing, a very comforting thing, but it can also be a very dark and actually very destructive thing. And so this movie shows that in a way that I thought was actually quite scary. scary, but in the subtlest of ways. And so the acting from the supporting cast, every character has a script to them that evolves them in a very three-dimensional way. And so the way that this woman is ostracized, I thought was very, very frustrating, because I wanted justice to be served. I wanted this main character to be taught a lesson, but I couldn't hate the main character completely, because I thought as though he was seeking salvation. He was seeking comfort in something, and he found the Bible. And because he's following the Bible word for word, he believed that he had a lot more strength. And so he's very damaged, he's very, very ill mentally. But again, a lot of people didn't deal with this because of the fact they agreed with what he was saying. And so some of the things he says are completely unacceptable, but again, because that we're allowed, because the majority believe in this, this is something that I definitely feel as though us as human beings really have to address. So you have the soundtrack that I thought was equally unnerving. It just creates a three-dimensional evolution of a story that just snowballs out of control, and it hits up to the really shocking ending, but again, shocking in very subtle ways. It's not trying to shock you with cheap sort of tricks. And so if you're after a standard movie, this is a film that's not for you. But if you want a movie that's going to make you think and really gravitate to characters and have conflicting emotions with these characters, then this is a movie I would highly recommend. As a result of that, I'm going to give The Student 4 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.